looking for behind the scenes look at what it's like going through a small animal ICU rotation in vet school. In this video, I'm going to share my experiences during this 2 weeks that I spent rotating through the ICU. Some of the challenging yet rewarding parts about working in a small animal intensive care unit. So it's about 6:30 in the morning right now, and I have to be there by 7. By 7, we round with the overnight clinician. They're going to discuss all the new cases that came in. We are also going to get updates on the patients that we had yesterday, see how they did overnight. After that, we get to choose which patients we get to take on for the day. We choose between 3 and 5 patients, depending on how intense they are and what our comfort level is. From there, we're gonna do physical exams. We're gonna decide what diagnostics to run on them. We'll also be the ones calling the owners and helping to discharge them, being there for different procedures and being able to put catheters in and NG tubes. I'm happy with the number of patients that I'm seeing. It's a lot more than other rotations. So other rotations, you may get 1 or 2 patients, and then you could have them cancel, and then you're kind of left with nothing some days. So here you have at least 3, up to 5 patients if you want. And it's really good because in my internship that I'm going to be starting in a month or so, we're going to have a lot of patients all the time. So it's good to kind of work my way up with this volume and get comfortable managing so many cases at a time. Today's a little bit of a different day. The University of Florida Vet School has their open house. So there's just going to be hordes of people coming on tours throughout the day. The hallways are just going to be packed. There's signs and stuff all over. It's going to be impossible to run down and get blood work and to go to the pharmacy to pick up meds. So we'll see what happens. Today we had a few different patients. One of the patients that I had for the last 5 or 6 days that was a diabetic, potentially with hemorrhagic diarrhea, and potentially was a little bit septic, has been hospitalized on supportive care. We were able to send home, so that was really great. The owners were super thankful. I had another cat that just had some vomiting. We had a cat that had asthma. What else? One of the other students had a cat with Cytoxoan felis, which is a parasite that infects the red blood cells. It's on day 8 of hospitalization. It was a little bit azotemic. The kidney values were a bit elevated the last few days, but today the kidney values have come down, which is great. The cat's starting to eat a little bit, so a lot of these cases can be fatal, but this is a great example of kind of a grave prognosis and sticking through things, even when things seem pretty bleak and the odds of success are low. It's really cool to see some of these cases that we have the resources and opportunity to work up at UF. A lot of times in private practice or in general practice, these cases would not be able to be cared for, and the cat probably would have been euthanized 8 days ago. So in the end, we would follow a lot of our cases to the end, whether this be discharging them to their clients and getting thank yous and compliments about how great it was, or through the euthanasia of patients that weren't doing well and were suffering. Sometimes it was very challenging to put a patient down that we had watched come into the ER, spent time assessing them, doing treatments, talking to the owners. At the end of the day, it was just good to know that we were ending their suffering somehow. This rotation was part of my requirements to graduate. I also knew that in my upcoming internship in a month or so, I would be on a lot of emergency and critical care cases. Initially, I was quite challenged by some of these cases. A lot of these animals have multiple things going on with them. When the doctors would ask me, what do I want to do for the patient? A lot of times I would freeze and just think, who am I to know what to do with this? I'm not even a doctor yet. What could I potentially have that could contribute to this animal? Knowing that I was starting my internship in a month, I didn't want to embarrass myself going in, not knowing how to manage these cases, just freezing and not knowing what to say or how to use my knowledge that I learned in my classroom in a practical setting. As the rotation went on, I started to listen to myself of what I was saying to some of these owners over the phone. And I was actually impressing myself by how I was able to take some of the knowledge that I learned in the classroom and start applying it to cases. There were some diseases that I just knew and would start rattling things off in my head, being able to explain them to the owners in very efficient and practical ways. I ended up getting a lot of comments from owners about how great it was to talk to me in the morning, how easy I made it to understand what was going on with their animals, how calm and comfortable I felt talking to them. It helped them to feel calm and know that their animal was in good hands. Something that helped me out on this rotation was that I've started to develop a kind of database of information. All of my course notes, all of the textbooks, all of the records that I've taken from other patients, every case that I see I make notes on and I put into little Word documents. I also collected other discharges that people have made who've seen similar cases, being able to see what meds they use and what instructions they're giving. During this rotation, I ended up feeling more like a doctor. I realized just how much I really knew. I'd learned this stuff in the classroom. Some of it I thought was forgotten, but when presented with these cases and when owners would ask me questions, I was just able to pull this knowledge out of seemingly nowhere. I'm also very grateful to be able to have helped some of these patients and their families. They've come in with very sick animals, a lot of times in tears, not knowing what's going on, if they're going to make it out. Seeing slowly every day these animals get a little bit better and a little bit better, and then finally being able to hand over the leash to the owners and have them say thank you and tell them good luck with their animal and that we hope to never see them again in the emergency room. So that was my 2 weeks rotating in a small animal intensive care unit at my veterinary school. I hope you've learned something from this if you're considering going on a rotation like this and you're in vet school, or if you're just curious about the life of a vet student. If you like what you saw, please feel to like and subscribe and check out some of my other content related to my life and to veterinary medicine. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.